So the web's been around for a while now, and we use the web in different fashions. Let's say you're researching a book report, or maybe you're going to log into your bank account to see how much money you have so you and your friends can go to the movies to watch the latest release at 10 p.m. tonight. So you go to your browser and you look up this information. All these sites have one thing in common: HTML. HTML is going to be the standard foundational structure for all these web pages that you're going to visit to plan out your day for tonight. So what is HTML and how can we get started? HTML is going to be, again, hypertext markup language that creates the structure for all these web pages that you want to visit. Its common uses are text and images and laid out in a specific structure. Mozilla Web Developer Network provides a thorough example here of the language and how all of these elements relate and work together. So for instance, you're given a element here, let's say the paragraph element. You have your open tag and your closing tag, and your content is then marked up from those tags that make up that element on the page. Because if not, we would have all of our content just smashed together. Images that you see on the web pages that you're visiting, they're either going to be relative to that site or they're going to be an external image. Here in this example, they're gathering a local image within Mozilla's website to display this Firefox icon. But let's say you didn't have access to that icon, that's going to be an external link that we're going to have. And to make sure that everything is web accessible, images should come with an alternative text that displays and tells the user what that image would have been. All the content or text on your page needs to be marked up, whether it's going to be the heading, subheadings or subheadings, your paragraphs, all of your list items, potentially links to other pages and other pages internally or externally. And when they all put this together, you're given a specific web page or web application. Now, from this example that Mozilla put together, they have a title, Mozilla is Cool, with their icon or their logo, followed by a intro paragraph with a bullet point list, and then a secondary paragraph with a link to Mozilla's Manifesto. Now, how can I actually go about creating this if I wanted to get myself started with HTML? I recommend that we use codepin.io, sign up for the free account, and then get yourself practicing. With CodePin, you can start right away. You don't have to have an account to practice, but if you want to save your pins or your example, you will need to sign up for an account. So they're given your block for your HTML, your CSS, and your JavaScript. These are topics that we covered in a later date, so let's move them off to the side. And let's look at this example page that Mozilla put together. They have a title here, Mozilla is Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this text here. I'm going to highlight that, Control C to copy, and I'm going to use that as my title on my page here. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that Mozilla is Cool. But if I look at that example, Mozilla is Cool compared to their Mozilla is Cool, this is nice and dark and the font is a lot taller than what's given here. So how do I do that? That's going to be a heading markup. So let's go ahead and add the H1 tag. And by adding this H1 tag around my content, I've now given myself a heading 1 element in my example here. So now I have the Mozilla is cool, and those look just the same. Now how about the icon or the image here? You don't have directly access to this in CodePen. You have to use an external link for this to actually work. And so Firefox has a URL, or Uniform Resource Locator, that identifies where this image is living on the web via this URL. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this URL, and I'm going to use that in my example site. And I'm going to use the image tag, which is a self-closing tag. I don't need the closing img because we don't have any text to mark up, but rather we're going to inject this image into our page here. So let me just go ahead and remove that closing image. And every image needs a source of where that image comes from. And I'm going to put that image in there. And there you can see that there is my Mozilla Firefox icon. One thing I mentioned that every image needs as an alternative text. This is an attribute to the image opening tag. So in this case, I can put in and say Mozilla icon as my alternative text, because if you ever notice, this is an example here, I'm going to take out my source. I'm going to go ahead and just copy that, and I'm going to just remove the source. If you ever see this little picture show up with a little broken corner and you want to know what the heck happened there, that's what's going on. There is no source to an image, and you should get the alternative text that's going to show up. So let me put that image back in there, and that alternative text is going to go away. Now what do they have next? They have a intro paragraph, some bullet points, and 2 other paragraphs. So if I was to copy all that, highlight all that information, I'm going to copy that, and if I place that in my text editor, my HTML text editor, you can see how it's all crammed together. It's not really looking like it's supposed to here. Well, why is that? Because it's not marked up correctly. So let's take a look at how can we mark this up correctly. This first intro paragraph, I'm going to go ahead and put in my opening and my closing paragraph tag around there. And there you have it moving itself to the lower line. It's getting marked up. And then I've got a list of bullet points that needed to be. There was 3 of them. We can do this. By default, your bullet points are going to be an unordered list. So let's go ahead and use the UL. And I'm going to come down to where the end of the unordered list is going to be. That's going to make up where that set of list items should be. And each of these needs a LI or list item tag around the opening and closing of those particular text content. So I'll put my list item, and then we'll put the last. And let's look at our live preview. I now have an unordered list. And then based on their example, they have 2 additional paragraphs and a hyperlink to Mozilla's Manifesto. So I can go ahead and move this down, and I'm going to create a open paragraph there along with a closing paragraph, and then an open paragraph and a closing paragraph. Now that's going to give me my structure. So I've got my 2 additional paragraphs underneath my unordered list. So there's my first one, and there is my second one. In terms of the spacing, this is not necessary. If I was to remove this space there, that's the same as that. The markup is what's giving you your space in the browser, because the browser provides that space with its own style sheet, which is for a different day. But now we need that Mozilla Manifesto hyperlink. So if I want to get that hyperlink, I can right click, I can copy that link address. And if I go ahead and go around Mozilla Manifesto, and I'm going to use the A tag or the anchor tag that's going to go around those two words. This is called a nesting element. I'm going to nest the anchor tag around text on the inside or around the exterior of the Mozilla link. And then I'm using a hyperreference attribute that's going to allow me to go to that particular link. And if I need to add a secondary attribute, which is the target, and I want to do an underscore blank, that's going to allow me to send myself to a new browser tab. And let's take a look. And there is that hyperlink. If I go back to the original example, Mozilla Manifesto, and I click on that, that'll take me to their manifesto. Inside here, it took me right to the page, not a new tab, but in CodePen, you have to actually put that with a target of blank so that you can get sent out to that new page. And there you have it. You have your first official Mozilla is cool site from the same working examples that came from the Mozilla Developer Network on HTML. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching, everybody.